Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest rendition of Tales from Outer Space. Taken from the subreddit HFY. All the relevant links will be down below. And as always, I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider supporting the channel. Now, on to the science fiction. Story number 1. Legacy of Mankind, written by Vas_. Oldpeg and his crew had been exploring the distant reaches of the galaxy for almost a year. It had been months since they had been anywhere near an inhabited star system. They had been tracking down mysterious signals that seemed to appear all over the galaxy, seemingly at random, only to vanish by the time anyone went to investigate. The frequency of these appearances had intensified in the recent years, and finally, the government decided to send out scientists and explorers around the galaxy to investigate. It was late in the evening, and Oldpeg was lying in his bed, skimming his notes, very notably irritated as he tried to make sense of the patterns of appearances. He had dedicated much of his life to the study of this phenomenon, yet still he felt as if he had learned nothing useful. He was deep in thought when he was suddenly startled by someone banging at the door. "Yeah, come in." He pressed the hollow screen next to his bed and the door opened. The ship's chief engineer rushed in. "Sir, we have another signal. It's very close." Oldpeg fell out of his bed in a hurry and scrambled for the bridge with the chief engineer. On the bridge, everyone was busy at work and a large hollow screen blinked with the picture of a strange object. "It's within visual range," Oldpeg thought to himself. It was more than anyone had ever seen of the objects. They saw a dark, round object flying through the void at great speed. Oldpeg ordered the ship to speed up and get the orb within tractor beam's distance. The following 20 minutes of chase were the most stressful moments of his life. He was dead sure it would disappear like they usually did, but all that happened was that the orb's signal went silent halfway through the chase, but they still managed to catch it. Oldpeg rushed from the bridge to the cargo bay when it was confirmed it was in tow in the tractor beam. Chief Engineer and the others tried to follow him, but only managed to catch up when Oldpeg was already nervously shuffling at the airlock door of the cargo bay, waiting for the atmospheric pressure to stabilize. Finally, the door opened and Oldpeg rushed in, and there it was, the mysterious orb. Oldpeg almost felt like his heart stopped when he saw the orb. It was none other than the artifact of the Forerunners, an ancient civilization that had dominated this and many other galaxies long, long ago. They didn't know all that much of the Forerunners. Most information they had was based on findings from ancient monuments and ruins. They had scarcely found any written documents, let alone working electronics. But there he was standing in front of an actual working machine by the Forerunners themselves. Oldpeg and the chief engineer spent the night studying the intricate construction of the machine and documenting the various runes around it. They managed to decipher some of the runes based on the earlier discoveries, and they found a mention of the word Harbinger and Undying Curse. Anyone, save for Oldpeg, would have been nervous reading such ominous words on a mysterious orb. But not Oldpeg. He studied the orb until, at last, he found out that there was a way to open it. When he pressed the pin into the tiny hole on the orb, it cracked open. Beautiful holograms of a strange rune split up in the air over the orb. The mysterious runes gathered into a cluster that unfolded into a moving image of a strange alien creature. The jerky movements of the odd physique seemed very alien. It was one of the Forerunners, without a doubt, and it said something. Oldpeg and his team went through the message over and over, struggling to decipher its meaning, until finally, a month of painstaking work, one quiet evening, alone in his room, Oldpeg managed to break its code. There, he discovered an ancient message. The voice spoke. It spoke of the commitments and promises made. The Forerunner felt compelled to tell their sentiment and to help understand the promises that they had committed. As the voice went on, Old Peg's face contorted with terror as he understood the meaning of the message. He frantically rushed to stop the voice and seal the orb. Chief Engineer was woken up by Old Peg frantically banging on his door. With a trembling hand, he gave the orb to the Chief Engineer and whispered him an order to have the orb jettisoned immediately. No questions asked. Chief Engineer did as he was told. Old Peg watched as the orb launched into space and sighed with relief. He was clearly shaken. He was a complete nervous wreck. The Chief Engineer noticed this and tried to ask what he had seen, but he never got an answer to that question. Disappointed, the crew returned home with not much to show for the year-long exploration effort. Billions of years would pass. Old Peg and his species would come and go like many others in the history of the universe. The inevitable heat death of the universe finally draws near, and the vast emptiness of space. A soul orb still flies, sending out its message. In the heart of the orb still plays the images of an alien creature long gone, and its voice still speaks of their commitments, of their promises, of their sentiments that they want you to understand, and how they will never give you up, never let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye. And so the wreck rolls on. End of story. Story number 2, The Cosmic Harvest, written by the one fearless Vulcan. You can learn a lot about a civilization's belief by asking them how they view death. It is, regrettably, a universal concept, as nothing can truly escape the end forever. But it is seen differently by almost all civilizations. Skeletal, it is always skeletal amongst the races with bones. That much is obvious. The other trends are as well. More peaceful, philosophical races tend to see death as a motherly figure, welcoming one home after a long day of play. In such cultures, death is almost always depicted as female, to represent the caring mother, and much larger than the race it cares for, to give the impression that even in the end, there is still the being who loves you like a child. These deaths often are seen as accepting and happy to take in new souls to their eternal slumber. More warlike races tend towards the masculine side, often viewing death as a general or a commander, the kind of being who will send you back to the fight until it is clear that you can no longer continue. Often those depictions of death do not want to take the souls until the very end. When we first met the humans, we laughed. The whole galaxy laughed. We had seen the deaths take a form of mothers and doctors, generals and warlords, even occasionally a teacher or a judge. But humans, their death was a simple farmer. A tired-looking skeleton and a ragged cloak, a far cry from the elegant robes or golden armor of other deaths, and wielding a scythe that seemed to be made from the random branch. We laughed behind their backs, thinking them fools. How foolish we were. When the Graxnol attacked Earth, hoping to take its rich, garden-walled land, we realized the Gurks were the crops, and now they were ripe. A calming mother can be reasoned with. Let me stay, I won't hurt anyone again. A warlord can be bargained with. Spare my life, I'll give you payment. But a farmer? Does a farmer hear his crops when they plead to not be sliced to ribbons? And even if the crops could speak, would the farmer listen? It is his job to reap, not to bargain. The Graxnol begged for mercy. They struck back in suicide missions to desperately stop the advance. They even borrowed a horrifying page from Earth's history and used scorched earth tactics. Those were just diseased crops to the mighty Reaper. They too were cut down, but set aside from the rest to be destroyed later. The remainder begged for mercy, but what farmer leaves half his crop unharvested? They were wiped out, and we trembled in fear at the cold, calculated swipe of the Reaper's metaphorical blade. But all was not as it seemed. The Reaper was a farmer after all, and what farmer does not replant what he has reaped? And so Earth helped the Graxnolian refugees once their regime had been toppled. They replanted the seeds of the Empire and helped them start to grow back towards prosperity. The Granaxle are, once more, a powerful, warlike race, but they are no longer as feared as they once were. No race in the galaxy has the fear factor that they used to. We're all crops in the cosmic field, and Earth's death sits on the porch of an old farmhouse, polishing its scythe, watching, waiting. We treat the humans nicely, and all deaths bow to theirs, all in hopes that the next harvest will never come to pass. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.